live.
Huh?
I'm live. What'd you do? Because you said, "Oh shit." Happy Wednesday. It's Joycelyn Wells and it's Joy Exposed. I've been looking forward to this for like 8 weeks and I still don't have my shit together. Still technology issues. Still trying to figure it out. I guess that's just the way it is with me. So anyway, thank you so much for joining. Let me check my socials, make sure I'm live everywhere. That's what one-person team. You have to make sure all your shit is working. Make sure my volume and my sound is up. Yeah, let me see. Let's see. I don't see that it started. I don't know. All right, let me see. I can't. Let me look at YouTube. Maybe YouTube will tell me. Yeah, it says I'm live now for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Let's see if I can find it. This is hilarious because I don't see it. And I don't want to shut it off because it already says I'm live. There I am. I'm live. Okay. All right. So it's Joycelyn Wells with Joy Exposed podcast, and it's Wednesday, August the 4th. And man, let me tell you, it has been a whole issue with me this week because I went back to work and I'm tired. Like, seriously tired. I was just asleep until about 8:40. Then I finally decided to get up and start getting it together. And then I was late, because I was trying to get it together. Anyway, so remember, we start with 3 cheers of joy, 3 moments of self-celebration that have nothing to do with anyone else. And that's where we'll start. Cheers to 3 cheers of joy. And tonight I'm drinking a sweet back to work. Now, and I'm drinking a sweet red wine by, I forgot. It's just a sweet red wine. That's what I'm drinking tonight. So I went to the market today with the intention of getting some champagne to celebrate the return of Joy Exposed, and I forgot. So ta-da, when joy is exposed, everything just feels better. All right, so 3 cheers of joy, 3 moments of self-celebration that have nothing to do with anyone else. Let me start with, when we last spoke, I was preparing to move from Lakeland, Florida, back to Atlanta, and I'm here. So celebrations to a successful move from Central Florida back to North Georgia. So I'm home. Cheers. My second cheer of joy is I'm comfortable here. Like, this was a good move for me, and I'll probably talk about it later tonight, but this was a good move for me because it was time. My children knew it. My daughter, my granddaughter, she didn't really know, but my daughter knew it was time for me to make a move. And intrinsically, it felt like it was time for me to make a move, and I did. And here I am, and I'm very pleased with the move that I made. So cheers to a successful move, and cheers to right on time, following that instinct. My third cheer of joy, I'm really enjoying taking care of my home, of my place, of where I'm living, and making sure that things are just so. I love that I'm able to put the detail in the things that are important to me. And it's been a long time since I've had that, just taking care of my own space. So that's my third cheer of joy. Cheers to having my own space. And well, no, we'll say my own space, because I had my own space in Lakeland. But this is like the whole thing belongs to me and my love, right? So we're able to just be. But as it goes for me, is I'm here. It's it's for me, and I'm pleased with that. So cheers to having my own home again. I'll say that, my own home again. And yeah, those are my three cheers of joy. So cheers. So the first was making a successful move. The second was with the move being right on time. And the third thing is that it's mine, right? It's mine. And I can decorate or not, or make a mess and not clean up, but I notice I'm really OCD, so I'm definitely cleaning up. But yeah, it's good. I just feel like I'm growing up still. And that's what I talk about on Joy Exposed. It's growing up and being true to yourself. And if shit stinks, it stinks. And if it's great, it's great. But knowing that it's yours and your choices dictate your movements and your steps. So I'm pleased with all of this. I'm happy that I took a break. I'm excited about season 3 of Joy Exposed, and all the past episodes can be seen on YouTube. Well, not all of them. I took some of the early ones off that were kind of scrambly and crappy, like the sound, and the conversation was good, but the quality wasn't so good. You grow, right? So just about everything can be seen on YouTube and heard on iTunes and Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, Pandora, anywhere that you get your podcast. You can hear Joy Exposed. And now we're here for season 3. So we see what this is going to look like, because I've had so many ideas on what to do next. And, now it comes down to executing. And I figured I would wait before I start bringing on guests again. That's how I started. And I want to bring guests again. But I figured I'd wait just a couple weeks, because right now I needed to catch up on me. And if you watch and listen to Joy Exposed, I use this as my therapy session. I talk this shit out that's in my head. I talk it out loud. And then by the time I'm finished, I'm like, oh yeah, I feel so much better. So it's a little psychosis for me, but it helps me to kind of manage the ideas and the thoughts and sometimes crises that I have, just to kind of talk them out loud. And I don't know how many people do that, but for me, it clearly works. So I figured the first week or so I needed to talk about things, what's been going on with me, how I feel about situations. And the same fucking thing I was talking about when I left is the same thing or worse is happening now. Is COVID. I expected to come back and we'd be on the other side of COVID. I expected to come back after I was having a hot girl summer. Turn up. No hot girl summer. COVID still reigns, and there's a new Delta variant, which is worse. And so now you're seeing on the maps, Florida, Texas, California light up, right? Worst cases, and they're getting so many, and Louisiana, they're getting so many cases a day. And it has just taken its toll once again. And now we feel like if you haven't had it or you got a vaccine, you feel like you're invincible, right? But from my understanding, even if you've had the vaccine, you can still carry the variant and transfer it to someone who hasn't had the vaccine, or you could get at least mild symptoms of the Delta variant, of the COVID Delta variant. So, I just don't know, but all we can do is continue to be safe. I'm over the number of deaths of people that I know personally or that I've had contact with that have died, or they're connected to somebody that I know. I'm tired of it. And it's frustrating because you feel so helpless. And I got my vaccine, remember, because it knocked my ass out, like when I got it a couple days after the second. But I got it, and I'm still very cautious of the number of people that I'm around. And occasionally I'll wear my mask. And like yesterday, 2 men were talking directly to the left of me. And I looked up because I thought, they better have on their fucking masks standing this close to me. That was my thought. And they did. And then I think once I looked up at them twice, they probably thought, oh, let's move. And then they kind of took a few steps forward, and they talked forward, but people are aware of other people for the most part. I think people who are concerned about people who know that they have power of transmission or carrying, or they die, that they're mortal, they're more aware, I believe. But then we have this group of people who still won't get vaccinated because for whatever reason, religious reason, blah, 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 what the fuck ever, whatever. They're trying to hold fast on not getting this vaccine. They don't trust it. They don't need it. It's not real. You know, all of this. And I'm just like, what the fuck planet? Where are these people living on a daily basis that they haven't experienced the level of heartbreak that I have when it comes to people dying? And not that everybody is supposed to respond like me, but I do think we're at least supposed to be compassionate and aware of other people, right? So that's really on me, you know, the whole COVID thing. And the funny thing is, I came across this article that I thought I would read. Let me pull it up real quick. I won't read the whole thing, but it was just heartbreaking reading it, not even listening, reading it, and understanding that there are people that are having a fucking hard time dealing with COVID. ICU, nurses, doctors, staff, patient care, whatever, the hospitals. People work at the fucking hospitals. And I know those are jobs that they chose. When you choose a job that helps other people, I know. That's what they chose. But I also think that when somebody chooses not to get the vaccine and they get COVID because they've been such a staunch, so they stood against it, don't go to the fucking hospital. Leave your ass at home and die in peace. If you make a choice not to protect yourself and other people, then make the same damn choice and not go to the hospital to subject other people to you dying because it's what you chose. So, you know, for me, it kind of goes both ways. And I know it's a choice. People chose to work in the hospital. We need nurses. We need doctors because God knows I'm not either one. Thank you for Tylenol, ibuprofen, Benadryl, a Band-Aid, and some alcohol. I got me. That's as much as I can do. But I'm going to do every single thing I can do to not end up in the hospital. So let me say that first. Second thing, I've been vaccinated in the US since I can remember. I needed my shots to go to school. I don't know that I've ever gone through a time that I didn't trust my vaccinations. And I know there have been instances of bullshit with scientists and testing, but there's been instances of bullshit, all kinds of things. But I also know that now the bullshit is minimal when the masses are getting this vaccination, when we need it to protect each other and other people. So that piece I don't understand. And maybe I'm naive in that. Maybe I don't know that there's someone else to trust outside of the government, because I trust the government to approve my food. The Food and Drug Administration stamps any food that we're eating here. We're not in a country where unless you're growing your own organic vegetables, or we don't have to go get our animals off the side of the street. Even when you go hunting, you can take your deer or whatever to a special place where they go and slaughter them and verify and certify the meat and whatever, and then you take it home and you can eat it, right? So there are a lot of protective measures that happen to us in this country. So for this right now, and people are choosing not to get the vaccine, but then they get COVID and they go to the hospital, they're choosing to go to the hospital. You know, there's a risk of COVID. Keep your ass at home. Die at home. If you want to die, just say that. Stay at home and do that, right? But so let me read this article real quick, because this was really kind of from an inside perspective. It says, I'm an ICU doctor and I cannot believe the things unvaccinated patients are telling me. It says, my experiences in the ICU these past weeks have left me surprised, disheartened, but most of all angry. So this is a doctor, Thon Neville. Let me go find the article. Okay. We can't let COVID win. This was my colleague's mantra when the pandemic started last year. And for the almost 18 months since, healthcare workers have rallied to the battlefields, even at times when we had no weapons to brandish. We took care of the infected and the critically ill when no one else would. We reused N95 masks, carefully placing them in labeled brown paper bags in between shifts. We witnessed lonely deaths and held up iPads for families to say their heartbreaking goodbyes. We created elaborate backup schedules and neglected our personal lives. We stepped up during surges and when our colleagues fell ill. Camaraderie in the ICU had never been stronger because we recognized that this was a team effort and all of humanity was battling against a common enemy. But as healthcare workers, we also were painfully aware of our own vulnerabilities. We can run out of ICU resources for our patients. We can run out of personal protective equipment for ourselves. We can be exposed on the job and get sick, and we can die. Many of us did. More than 3,600 from COVID-19 in the first year. Many of us quarantined away from our families to protect the ones we love. We counted the risk factors of our children, our elderly patients, our spouses, and came up with our own formulas to decide whether to come home at the end of the shift or hole up in a hotel room. One of our ICU directors wrote and rewrote our COVID-19 clinical guidelines to keep up with the evolving literature, and somehow she carved out the time to write her own will. I work daily to adapt our end-of-life program to the changing needs and restrictions of the pandemic and signed up for a vaccine clinical trial as soon as one became available. I also updated my own advance directive and printed it out for my husband just in case. Then, effective vaccines became widely available in the US. I briefly saw light at the end of the tunnel. The number of patients with COVID-19 in ICUs across the country plummeted. It looked like our own sacrifices and commitment as healthcare workers had paid off. We believed herd immunity could become a reality and we could return to some sense of normalcy. But the relief was short-lived. The hope was fleeting, and we are amid another surge. A surge that is fueled by a highly transmissible variant and those unvaccinated. My experiences in the ICU these past weeks have left me surprised, disheartened, and most of all, angry. I am angry that the tragic scenes of prior surges are being played out yet again, but now with ICUs primarily filled with patients who have chosen not to be vaccinated. I am angry that it takes me over an hour to explain to an anti-vaxxer full of misinformation that intubation isn't what kills patients and that their wish for chest compressions without intubation in the event of a respiratory arrest makes no sense. I am angry at those who refuse to wear muzzles, quote unquote, when grocery shopping for half an hour a week, as I have been so-called muzzled for the past 18 months. I cannot understand the simultaneous decision to not get vaccinated and the demand to end the restrictions imposed by a pandemic. I cannot help but recoil as if I've been slapped in the face when my ICU patient tells me they didn't get vaccinated because they just didn't get around to it. Although such individuals do not consider themselves anti-vaxxers, their inaction itself is a decision to not protect themselves or their families, to fill a precious ICU bed, to let new variants flourish, and to endanger the healthcare workers and immunosuppressed people around them. Their inaction is a decision to let this pandemic continue to rage. And meanwhile, immunocompromised people for whom vaccines don't generate much immunity are desperately waiting for herd immunity. I have no way to comfort my rightfully outraged transplant patients who contracted COVID-19 after isolating for over a year and getting fully vaccinated as soon as they could. With angry tears, these patients tell me it's not fair that there are people who are choosing to endanger both themselves and the vulnerable people around them. They feel betrayed by their fellow citizens and they are bitter and angry. I cannot blame them. I'm at a loss to understand how anyone can look at these past months of the pandemic, more than 600 lives lost in the US and more than 4 million worldwide, and not believe it's real or take it seriously. But the unhappy truth is that there are people who do not. They did not in the beginning, and many are doubling down now. I thought when this pandemic began that we were all in this fight together, engaged in a war against the common enemy. Now I painfully realize perhaps we were never on the same side and we never had a common enemy. Perhaps the war has been among ourselves all along. We have won many battles, but unvaccinated America is choosing to let COVID win the war. And that's the article written by this doctor. And I felt that because it's like, how do you make that choice that you're not going to protect yourself and then demand that somebody else, many people, subject themselves to bullshit because that's what you chose? It's selfish. I mean, that is a selfish ideology. And there's nothing wrong with being selfish. I love taking care of myself. I love doing for myself. I love that. Self-care is key. But when you're choosing to not get vaccinated for whatever reason, who cares what the reason is? And the most important thing would be keep your reason to yourself. When you choose not to get vaccinated, but then you're begging for help, trying to tell the healthcare worker who's gone to college for years to take care of you, and maybe that doesn't matter to you because you don't care that they went to college to become a healthcare worker. That's why I'm saying, if you've chosen not to be vaccinated, keep your ass at home. Take care of yourself at home. Let your family take care of you. Die at home. These are our choices. These are our choices. And it doesn't, it's like our patients who are colleagues and family and friends who have been diagnosed with cancer, and they decide, I don't want to have treatment. I'm just going to thug it out. I'm going to do some natural treatment on my own, and I want to be in the comfort of my home. They don't wait till the last hour to run to the hospital and demand somebody takes care of them and then tell them how to take care of them because it's something they read on Google. They roll with the decision that they made that it's time to go. I hate that. Fortunately, I'm working from home. Thank God. I'm so excited. Last year, I was in the classroom, but I work with students. Now, if I were a person who I'm not getting vaccinated for whatever reason, and I'm in a classroom full of students every day who weren't of age to get vaccinated, then I take that home to my family. Come on. It ain't just about, this is the whole pandemic. This ain't about one person. It's about all of us. And if you can't make a decision to take care of yourself and the people around you, how do you express your love? How do you? What do you do? How do you? So, when I read that article, I was just like, dang, I didn't even think of it like that. I didn't even think of these healthcare professionals staying at the hospitals for weeks on end. They can't even see their own family because they're at the hospital now taking care of people who don't want the vaccine. So they're just going to be there with you, keeping you company, taking care of you, trying to make sure you don't die, when clearly you don't give a fuck if you die or not. Amazing how that works. Somebody else cares more about you and your mortality than you care about yourself. And this is this could be for a lot of different groups, but I'm talking about the people who've chosen not to get vaccinated. I just heard on the news that they're reopening the vaccination sites in Hillsborough County, and that's where I went to get mine. It was a big old outbreak site. They got on little those uniforms, the white, I don't even know what you call those things, with the mask on, and military guys out there with weapons and lines of people and scanning you and all this shit. It was crazy. I'd never seen anything like that in my life. And I went right in there and I got my vaccine twice. And now they're reopening the sites because the numbers are so high. So you have this site you can go for free in your backyard that takes you about 30 minutes max. I'll say 20 minutes, the time it takes you to go through the line at Chick-fil-A. Time for you to go through the drive-through at Popeyes or McDonald's. 20, 30 minutes, and you can't do it, or you choose not to, but you're eating out. You don't know what the hell is happening at that food, who's cooking it, but you're trusting it, right? I swear, the things that we get so wrapped up in, it blows my mind when we can't consider that how important we are. Each one of us, the universe chose to be here. And if we can't see that our being here literally has nothing to do with us and everything to do with the universe, everything to do with the universe, because we owe a debt to the universe that we're here. There's a reason for our existence, and we can squander it because we want to take something about a vaccine. I'm not taking it because of whatever. It's just that we got to roll with it. And right now we got this Delta variant. And if you haven't lost any tears because somebody you know has died because of COVID or during COVID, if you haven't sobbed, oh gosh, out of control, that the thought of this person, you'll never see them again. If you haven't had that moment where your heart is hurt because you lost somebody, lucky you haven't had that moment. But if you haven't had that moment and you have refused to get vaccinated, maybe you'll be the moment. Maybe you'll be the moment that somebody cries. Maybe your death will be the one that somebody sobs uncontrollably and will miss you. But then how do you tell that person, well, this is what they chose. They asked for this. They didn't want to get vaccinated. They were ready to die. How do you explain that to your kids, to your cousins, to your mom, to your dad? How do you explain that? I'm choosing to die. I'm choosing not to do this. Because once you're gone, you're gone. But the people that you leave behind are the people processing the fact that you're gone. And as soon as you say, well, that's what they chose, then you the problem. How you gonna say that? That's so mean. Listen, our choices are our choices. When we choose some shit that's fucked up, the consequences are connected to what we choose. We're not independent of the consequence. Our choices, we're gonna get it. I've talked about this before. When my kids did stuff or when they do things and they're all upset and mad and fussing and crying, I'll ask them, well, what did you choose? Why did you choose this? What did you think was going to happen? Choice, responsibility is key to doing anything. Key, you owning your choices. Your choices are key to you navigating through this life successfully. If you don't accept responsibility for the choices that you make, or you pretend that people are making choices for you, or you aren't aware that you can make choices, or you give in to somebody making choices for you, you're going to have a tough life to live, whatever the choice is, if you're not making choices that are positive or choices that are good for you. Sometimes it hurts. Like, it's horrible. Sometimes you got to make the tough choices. Tough choices to cut people off. And y'all know I've talked about that before. I talk about letting people go. I talk about protecting yourself and moving forward along. This is what joy does. Joy is exposed. When joy exposed, everything just feels better. When you know that the only thing you have control over is yourself, and you make choices to do well or to move for yourself, your life becomes a whole lot better. You start losing yourself in other people's bullshit. Well, I don't know why they did this. And she think this, and you can't do nothing about that shit. Zip. What you gonna do about it? My daughter just was fussing the other day. All these people moving out here and this and this. I'm like, well, move. Well, I'm just saying, you can't do nothing about it. You ain't in control of who move out there. You ain't in control of what apartments they live in. You ain't in control of none of that. You ain't in control of none of that. The only thing you're in control of is you. So if those things are not good for you, you move. Because ain't nobody finna stop their forward movement because you uncomfortable. They don't give a shit about you. That's the truth. That is the absolute truth. So I read that article, and then I started thinking about those doctors and nurses and people just making that ultimate sacrifice. It's already a sacrifice going into medicine. going into public service jobs. They're already you're already giving yourself, you're giving of yourself, putting yourself in these public sector places. Doctors, nurses, firemen, policemen, EMTs, teachers. I'm sure I missed someone. These public sector jobs, man, you already are saying, here, make use of me. And you're doing that, and then people are like, screw you. I ain't taking the vaccine, but you're gonna take care of me, and I'm gonna tell you how to do it. See, and that's where I would lose my job like that, because I would be like, fuck this patient can lay right here. That's where I would end up in a tough space, because I would be like, no. So if you haven't gotten your vaccine, get it. Like, put it on top of your things to do list, because the world is moving forward. The world is moving forward. School starting for most places in a week, 2 weeks. Kids are going back to school. Now, I know my kids didn't even like to put their shoes in the closet. So I know I wouldn't be able to rely that they had their mask on all day other than when they ate. Because you trust your kid, you can trust your child to have a mask on all day. But you got grown-ups who can't even be trusted to get themselves vaccinated to help protect. Come on now. The kids more responsible than the adults. That's how we playing this day. A damn mess. Anyway, the kids going back to school, they're going to have to be protected. I know that the age has dropped for who can get a vaccine. And I'd say another year, the COVID vaccine will be required. Or at least the booster. Something for the kids. You go now to the health department, to your primary care physician, and get measles, mumps, rubella, what is it called? Shoot. All those darn shots. We all got them. TB. We all got those shots. Got the health department, maintain records of the shots that you've gotten. And I swear they're going to have a coronavirus in there shortly. They even have one in there for HPV. The doctors will ask you if you want to get the HPV vaccine in a series. They started doing that. Wasn't nobody questioning that one, unless you don't do vaccines at all. And that's a risk that your family has taken. And you take whatever precautions you have because you don't do vaccines. Not a vaccine. You don't do vaccines at all for whatever reason, religious, whatever. And you are down for whatever consequence comes out of that. I understand that. I ain't knocking it. But when you're just saying you're not because, or I don't want to, or you got some conspiracy theory, say that shit. I'm over it. Over the conspiracy theory about stuff like that. Protect yourself. Protect me. As a matter of fact, talking to me about it is putting me at risk. Get the fuck away from me. Peace. And I don't feel obligated to have those conversations with anybody. Why? I'm vaccinated. So you ain't going to convince me not to be vaccinated. That's a choice I made. It's a choice I made for me, and it's a choice I made for the children that I have access to. It is a choice that I made for the people that I love and I keep safe. It is a choice I made that when I invite someone to dinner or someone invites me to dinner, that I know that I'm okay going to dinner. I'm going to make sure that I'm okay. Like, that's what I'm going to do, right? I don't need to have a crazy conversation about it. And I'm not going to. So whatever. But when if by chance you're watching this and you haven't been vaccinated, go get your vaccine. Get it. If you don't get it, then don't get it. I don't want to know why you don't get it. It literally doesn't matter. Because if you don't get your vaccine, this is what I'm thinking. If you're not going to trust the government with things that happen, that the things that the government puts out, and I ain't saying we all go blindly for the okie doke. We have to protect ourselves. And our government interaction is third, fourth party. I don't interact with the government directly ever, right? So if you're not going to get the vaccine because you don't trust it, stop shopping at grocery stores. Any of the food that's canned and packaged and processed and has a USDA stamp of approval on it, stop eating them. Stop drinking the water out of your water fountain. Go down to the creek and pull your water right out the creek. Cut out the government out of all your shit. Cut the government out completely out of all your shit. Not just this vaccine. Cut them. Go live on your plot of land. Oops. That's owned by probably the government, or that you get to buy it and then you have to pay your taxes for it. You can own your land. Go live on a piece of land and live that way. Live from, sure, it's to live off the grid, live free. It's okay to do that as long as the people around you, that's the way they live, but you don't subject other people to illnesses. Make right choices. Go all the way out. Go start hunting your shit, hunt your food, kill it, scan it, eat it. Remove the government approval process out of all of your shit. Remove it. When they do another stimulus check or whatever, send that shit back. I don't want this government money. Keep your money. Cut it out completely. Don't just choose one thing that's affecting so many people, or that can affect so many people around you and result in their death. I'm annoyed by that. I'm literally annoyed by that. What time is it? Oh, about 9:40. Anyway, so that just had me really annoyed thinking about the vaccine. It's been almost 2 years. 2 years since we first started talking about COVID. Was it 2 years, babe? Like 2 years? In like November, December, I think will be like 2 years when they first started talking about it. And then when the public found out about it, I think we were in February, March. So about a year and a half. This is gone. I've been talking about this whole time. I'm so over it. I'm tired of it. I do think there are some good things that have come out of COVID, though. People recognize space is required, you know. I think that you notice that when you go out, people give you room. You know, you've been in the grocery store close to each other, you know, now you recognize people give you space. You get your own 6 feet, right? So I do appreciate that. I like that. I like that it seems like everything slowed down a bit, just slowed down. That's a good thing. And then, I also like how the significance of the essential workers was brought to light. Oh my God, I love that. I love that the restaurant workers and grocery store workers and healthcare personnel and firemen and policemen. I love that those people in those jobs, we realized they were critical to our existence. I know I did my Instacarting and Grubhub and had my stuff delivered, and I know I did my share during the pandemic. And that just lets you know that the emphasis flipped from these highest paid executives and these office jobs and 9 to 5 and all of this. It flipped to what keeps the country running. And it almost make you go back to like when the phone system started. The phone system allowed communication when the US mail started. The Pony Express had mail moving across this country. You look at the people who kept the country going, and then you understand that, oh, this is what America is about. And it put a different light on it. So I did love that. Another thing that I loved is that all these office buildings are sitting up empty. Jobs would be like losing their mind if you come to work like 30 seconds, 2 minutes late. You're going to get a write-up, or you got to get a this or that. And now people working from home, roll out of the bed at 8:50, clock in at 9 o'clock. You know, like it just changed the perspective on what's important. Living and life is important. And companies, it didn't matter what the company was, had to make adjustments to living and making life better for their employees. There was no company, I don't think, in the US that was not affected by COVID, whether it was good or bad. But employees that working from home, going home after that would have been a no-no. You got employees, they figured out how to kit them out with computers and have them work from home and secure these databases and this technology so it's not getting hacked. You got people working for investment companies and banks and whatever, all of this from home. Think about that technology. Oh my God. Look at the technology growing in this. Man, just so much flexibility and resilience. And those are the things that just made the pandemic bearable, is to know that so much goodness happened out of it. And not to mention that people, I understand, were getting great unemployment benefits that they didn't even have to go to work. They were getting like double benefits and they were making more money that way than going to work. So now, you know, people, everybody's hiring, signs everywhere and hiring. What else? Let's see. The unemployment benefit. Oh, there was a moratorium on evictions that ended on July 31st, and I think it was extended. So they're still holding off on evictions. And you know, I don't know anybody in that situation that may have been facing eviction, but it seems like, according to the numbers, there was a lot of people that haven't been able to pay their rent. And so that means those apartment complexes are, you know, not making money, you know, and they're in it for the business. And it makes me wonder too, like some of the people weren't paying their rent because they couldn't, or because they didn't have to, you know, that kind of thing. That's a whole nother discussion. But so there was it ended on July 31st. And then I think President Biden put another moratorium on it a couple of days ago. So now they're trying to hold on, help people with their rent situation, to keep them in their apartments, their homes, whatever it is they have. Because the number of poverty, homelessness have been increasing, you know, and they will increase because there's been a huge shift in how things are done now with this technology piece. So, you know, this is going to take a long time to recover. It may not even be in my lifetime. There's so much data to be pulled about this COVID and these coronaviruses, and think about parents who were pregnant and got the vaccine, and they're going to be looking at the kids, and there's so much information that's going to be available. And that's the beautiful thing about science. It's always information. And I'm also finding out there's so many people who don't pay attention or don't have an interest in learning science. And not to the depths of becoming like a doctor, but I mean, just basic science that is taught in school. People just don't have any knowledge of it. That blows me away. Just some of the stuff I've seen. But I mean, what can you do? Keep providing free education. Keep hoping that some teacher will have an opportunity to connect with the child in a way that allows them to be great and to have a good life and move on and continue their education. Education is important. Whether it's college or whatever it is, as long as you're learning, the more you know, the more you grow, right? So as long as you're learning, I think that's hella important. It just brings me to a thought about, for a while, the only thing moving across the United States was our truck drivers and our trains, right? Essential. Our truck drivers were moving that merchandise, moving that product across the country from here to there. They were moving it, and those trains were steady going, steady going, steady going. And that's what we have to look at. Like, all of our jobs, we feel like our jobs are important. But how does what you do keep the world going? How do you contribute to keeping the United States moving, to keep people moving? And if you don't see people moving in what you do, and everything is connected. So if you don't see what you're doing is helping people or contributing to, you probably need to choose something else. Not because you don't see that you're helping other people, because you're probably not helping you either. And that's a tough space to be in. And I've been in it. I've been in yucky ass jobs. Yeah. Anyway, I don't know. I'm having a hard time with this pandemic still. I'm tired. I've been sad on and off. I've been out a couple times. I, a lot of people are out. I call that shit the COVID fest, because it's out there. And I think it's probably the younger people that are getting together in droves, all close and on top of each other. Not literally, but so close to each other. And I can't do that. I need to be away from people. I need to eat outside. If I'm going to a restaurant, I want to eat outside. And the past couple times I've been out to eat, the food hasn't even been really good. So that's kind of helps me not to go out to eat, because I remember, the last time I went out, the food wasn't great. So that kind of helps me. Let me think what else. I guess my social media is still my social media. I've been enjoying that tremendously. Um, Even during the pandemic, talked to some great people all the time. I'm still working my business. It's growing, so I've got some great clients. I try to give them good service. Many of them I haven't even met in person. I just work with them remotely or over the phone. Um, I'm still working on that great writing project that's being turned into an animation. That's fun, because now that the script was accepted a few weeks ago, now we moved to storyboarding. So I'm learning a lot about that process of writing and what it looks like to make a movie. This is definitely an insight that I didn't have. I didn't even know I was interested in. But that's kind of cool, watching that play out. Um, yeah, so I've just been chilling through my break, trying to stay safe, COVID free. That's what my goal is. Um, want to stay COVID free. I want to take care of people, take care of myself. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. I didn't have any Facebook posts of the week this week, because I haven't really been saving any. I see them and I respond to them, and um, that's about it. So next week I'll fall back into kind of what Joy Exposed looks like, what our platform looks like, and the way that it goes. But for the most part, I've just been chilling. My mom had celebrated her 70th birthday on Saturday. She had a great time. She hung out with friends and they did stuff. She called us late Saturday night and we talked for a bit. And I had a great opportunity to go out and work on Saturday. I went to Keysville, Georgia, and went to work at the Boggs Academy. It's historic Black school where kids used to go and stay. It was in residence back in the day. I think when I saw a class that graduated in 1968, I was born in 69. So it was I guess maybe during segregation. There were a few Black schools in the South, and this was one. So I was able to go there for an event. I got to interview some amazing people. That was a great day, like 6 interviews. And I talked to this lady who was the first Black organic farmer. Her family, for her and her husband, first Black organic farmers in Georgia. So I got to talk to her. That was really interesting. We talked for like 30 minutes. I interviewed the Senate Majority Leader, Charles Walker. I interviewed a guy who writes about black cowboys out west. His last name was Searles, Mike Searles, I believe. Zan Tucker, she's an author. Latia, I was gonna say Latia McCoy, but I don't think so. Latia Wilkes. She writes children books. Her name is the Coco Student on Instagram. So it was kind of cool. Like I met some amazing people, and I got to interview all of them. And that's for the show I do on JPN Network. It's called Open Book with Joycelyn. So that was really fun. So I mean, it's not like I haven't been doing anything but sitting in the house, staying safe. I have been out and I have been around people, and yeah. But Saturday was crazy. It was awesome. Let's see what else has happened. Oh, my son graduated since we've last talked. He graduated in May 27th, and he's going off to college at FAMU, Florida A&M University. Rattler strike. So he's going to school there. I thought he would go to Florida, but something changed his mind. So he's going to FAMU, which is, I'm fine with that. I'm fine with whatever he chooses. That's how I am with my kids. They make a choice. Their choice, their consequences. It's what you chose. So he's going to school at FAMU in a couple weeks. And he got to come up and visit with his friends a couple weeks ago. Well, about a month ago, he and his friends, a couple of his guy friends came up. They hung out in Atlanta for the week. And that was fun. So I got to see him. And he's all grown up or growing up. And my grandbaby's at home. She's getting ready to start school. Well, she'll be at online learning for the next month, like a head start online because of COVID. So she has an extra month at home, but she's doing well. Everybody's doing well. My oldest daughter, my youngest daughter, everybody's doing well. Just trying to stay safe and keep loving each other and keep understanding that we have a reason for being here, that we were chosen. The universe chose us to be here. We have to figure out what we're supposed to do. So that's pretty much it. But this COVID has me a little bit twisted still, and people who aren't taking it seriously, and it's got me a little twisted. I mean, I think just recently as last Sunday, we lost somebody to COVID. This is tough. COVID is kicking our ass, and I'm over it. So if you have an opportunity to get your vaccine, get it. It's not going to kill you. I mean, it might. I mean, it's a slight risk of death. Everything is a slight risk of death. I'm not saying it like it's no big deal. I'm just saying, like, hell, driving your car to the grocery store is a slight chance of death. Like, there's always a chance of death. But just, take care of somebody else. Do something for somebody else. I don't know anything other than people just needing to be safe when they go somewhere. And they need to be safe when they come home. And that's it. So it's about 9:53. I guess I'll get ready to wrap up until next week. Thank you guys for joining me. It's Joycelyn Wells with Joy Exposed. And remember, when joy is exposed, everything just feels better. Thank you guys so much for listening to my rant. I've just been wanting to talk about this damn COVID like crazy. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good. And I'm happy to be back. And I'll see you guys next week. Bye. I died.